love our communities, special hometown feelings, but communities are not just geographic. We talked about it earlier, creating different affinity groups. They're online, schools, businesses, credit unions, and partners. So let's welcome to the stage our next esteemed panel. First, we have Joe Franklin from PSCU Co-op Solutions. Heather McKissick from Q's. Marci Francisco, Premier America Credit Union. Chung Bothwell, Uncle Credit Union. And Patrick McElhenie from Trellance.
There we go. Now, are we on? All right. Perfect. Well, good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be with you. And we get the fun topic of community to talk about. Communities come in all shapes, all sizes, served, underserved, across the board. So when we first started talking about doing this panel, the first community I thought of was maybe a little unique and a little different. But the first one that came to my mind was my oldest son. He's graduated college and is in flight school now, studying to be a commercial pilot. On the side, while he's doing that, one of his side gigs is he works for a skydiving company. He rides second seat in those planes, and talk about a tight-knit community. That skydiving community, it is amazing. And when you think about it, you've got your pilot, you've got your second seat, you've got your jump master who tells you when to jump out of the plane. You've got the parachute packers. You've got the actual jumpers themselves, all working together to do one amazing thing. And it's all based on one thing: trust, right? Across the board. We talked about that this morning, the war on trust already. But trust is that basis across the board. And every time they do another jump, every time they engage with each other, they continue to build that trust. Every single jump, more and more and more. And they build that community based off trust, but it continues to build off engagement, right? Every time they're together, it's getting bigger and better. Well, at Co-op, we always do commercial research every year. And this year, we're getting ready to roll out our research at Think, a little shameless plug for Think, in May. But in that research, we worked with our friends at Filene and EY and MasterCard and really started researching, like, what is it about this new era of communities, if you will, that will help engage them and get them brought over to the credit union space. We had about 3,000 participants. 2,000 were credit union members themselves, and 1,000 were prospects, meaning they're in the banks and they're willing to jump the line and come over to the credit unions. And the number one thing that came to the top of that was trust. And so when we asked them that question, what can credit unions do to earn your trust? The number one thing was interactions. As a QSO, we look through the lens of payments. We look through how do we win that continual battle for payments. Your big stuff like auto loans, mortgages, refis, that's all important. But we're learning over the last couple of years, it's really about those daily interactions with our communities that's helping build that trust. The more we engage with them, the more they trust us, the more we've been able to solidify and pull together that community. So for me, my thoughts when I think about community, no matter what the group is this based on trust? And then how do we continue to engage them in unique and amazing ways? We heard, are you on TikTok this morning? Again, across the board, how are you talking to your communities and your different groups that allow them to be engaged with you? So that's my thoughts as we start this panel with this amazing group of people up here. But I will start with Heather from Q's, our good partner and good friend at Q's. So Heather, what does community mean to you?
Well, community means communication. I think, it's fascinating how much we have all been talking this morning about communicating in one form or another. And it just really reinforces for me as a communication professional how communication creates community. And I think we've all been spinning ourselves into potentially some disbelief around that. Let me tell you what I mean. So there are 4 primary tenets of communication, right? In any context, and they are safety. We've been talking a lot about that. Safety means you are safe with me, I'm with you, I'm not against you. Right? Value, which means I see you, I know what matters to you, I will act accordingly. Openness, which means I am transparent, you see me, and you can trust me with that. And finally, freedom, which is all about choice. You can choose to engage with me or not. So safety and value and openness and freedom, these are the things that we've been talking about. And if you think about it, those are the things that create community. And they are not just communication principles or community principles, they're leadership principles. And I believe that we as an industry, as a movement, must prioritize those before and beyond we are prioritizing anything else. Because what I'm getting worried about is the spin that is perhaps us telling ourselves, but also others telling us that somehow we are caught up in some kind of a false dichotomy between mission and margin. Right? Because that is a false construct. We all know, everybody in this community knows that mission means margin, right? And vice versa. And yet we continue to listen to that, and I'm not quite sure I understand why. I think it's really important for us when it comes to continuing to build community with one another that we pay close attention to that. Because honestly, at the end of the day, what are we all trying to do? We're trying to measure the impact that we are making. Whereas our friend that talked about our people, we have to be mindful of our humans, right? But I wonder why we're spinning it this way. If we're spinning ourselves into a belief that somehow if we show our hearts, that we are then making ourselves more weak in the face of competition, you know, that's a message that we have to be very careful about sending. And if it's not that, it could be that we're just impatient. Because real community building, real community impact, that requires measurement over a longer period of time. That's a long game, friends, and we all know it. That does not hockey stick the quarterly scorecard. But how are we measuring ourselves, right? How much does our lasting community impact show up on those scorecards or in the incentive plan? That's not happening, and I worry about it. I worry that we will grow ourselves for growth's sake into a place that inherently turns our back on our inherent competitive advantage, the one that we all share, right? Which is community. Because I think that is honestly what that sort of coveted next generation of members and of leaders and of directors are really all about. They're not just now telling us this. They've been telling us this for quite some time. What they want are institutions that they can align with because we are aligned with their values. And so what are those values? Safety and value and openness and freedom and community. And so these, I believe, are the principles that they are calling us. The future is calling us to these things. And I firmly believe that we need to do a better job of holding each other and holding ourselves accountable to that.
That's awesome. Love that, Heather. That's amazing. Marci, how about you? What is community for you?
Wow, thank you. And it's such a pleasure and an honor to be here, so definitely appreciate it. So when we think about community, we think about authenticity and belonging, right? So as we work to transform, at least within Premier America, I mean, we've been on a wonderful journey over the last 6 years. I've been with the organization for just short of 5. And we wanted to make sure that, we recognized our community was changing, but there was just a lack of representation, a lack of belonging, a lack of understanding, perhaps, that could be inferred with financial institutions. Our community is wildly diverse. We serve a credit union that has 60% of the population is getting Pell Grants, 80% of the population is multicultural, 5% of the population is international students, and they've got a large segment of dreamers, right? We wanted to create relationships and communities where people felt like they belonged, where they could see themselves reflected in the organization. I give incredible credit to our leadership team, to our board of directors, and to our CEO that said we need to be part of the community. We took a look and said, does our leadership team reflect the community? If our team members are looking at our leadership team, do they see themselves reflected there? And we have been on a journey of diversification and making sure that every team member that joins Premier America sees the journey and sees the dream. We can't expect that people are going to come to us for products and services. We've got great home loans, we've got great auto loans, but when we did consumer research as part of our brand and our community transformation, our mission is to make it easier to meet today's needs and reach tomorrow's dreams. And we know that home ownership is a path to changing generational wealth, uplifting communities. We asked our communities what the American dream meant to them. They said, a home with a white picket fence, that's my mother's American dream or my grandmother's American dream. Yet that can't happen today. The American dream has become the American hustle. And that was just devastating to hear, that there was a lack of belief and a lack of faith. So we've gone out to our communities instead of expecting them to come to us. We're going out to the strawberry fields and partnering with Linda Rossi and her wonderful organization in Ventura County Credit Union and Rick Weber at CBC, going to the strawberry fields to meet people where they are. We're working with the Mixteco community. There's 20,000 people in Ventura County that have had a lack of access to financial services. So we're going to them. And in our partnership in our communities with the university, the international students at CSUN, at their old banking partnership, they couldn't open accounts. So how are we going to be a university partner and support that university if we don't open accounts for our international students or students that lack traditional identification or have alternative identification? So we needed to change who we were to build the community that people can trust. And yes, we're on TikTok, so join us. We're a little quirky, we're a little out there, a tiny bit of product, but really it's just humanizing the brand. Community means going to where people are and creating that sense of belonging and being real and being vulnerable, admitting when you're wrong, being kind of silly so people see that you're people too. So we focused on building our team member community, providing that vision and that opportunity and hope, and transforming and really going to where communities are.
That's great. Thanks, Marci. I know building internal community to go external. That's amazing. That's great. And Chung, how about you?
Yes. Thank you for inviting me here today, and thank you so much for allowing me to participate in this panel. We talk about the community, and I do agree with all of your definitions. But community to me, just like this group of people, the credit union members form the community. But also, I see that ever since I've been involved in the credit union, I've been with the credit union for over 30 years and been the chairman for 14 years now. Thank you. I see that we had at least like 10,000 credit union nationwide, but then year by year, I keep seeing that the numbers, going down from 10,000 to maybe about 5,000 now. And soon, and when you look at that number and you see that when we also compete with the bank, and so the issue of trust coming up, just like everyone talk about, can the people trust us and come to do business with us? And then when you look at the young people now, I talk to a lot of young people because I believe in them. They are our future generations. And so they were telling that they prefer to go to bank and they prefer digital banking at home so that they don't have to go out there. they are again like the future generation, and they could be like another community where you can approach them. So what we always try to do at our Uncommon Credit Union would be the CEO, Harold Roundtree, and myself, we go out to all of the high school and we try to reach out to the young people, because we believe that if you start them out early, you start telling them about what the credit union is about, and then showing them all of the things that we can offer to help them. You build up that kind of trust and loyalty. Stay with us, because most of our credit union members now, they are stuck, getting retiring, they're moving out, and you don't have that generation, kind of like into the sunset. So then you're talking about the younger people. So how can you keep them to stay with us? And that's where, for me, that community would be going out, reaching out to the people, and talk to them, explain to them, and also, for me, technology is so important. You cannot really ignore technology. That makes a difference. But not only that, the customer service, like, can we trust your bank? Can we trust credit union? They go into customer service would be, we can trust Uncommon Credit Union because they do a wonderful job for us. They help us everywhere. From my perspective, if you can tap into that new group of, again, community of young generation, you would be able to keep the credit union a long run, Otherwise, you're going to see credit union is going to be going down from 10,000 to 5,000 or maybe to 4,000. And we talk about, we need to also encourage and help the small credit union. So we're talking about collaboration among ourselves. We certainly, we always in competition, no matter which way you look at that, because there is small group of people that the bank also want their services, their members. Credit union among ourselves also want them to come to us. So how can you build that trust? Just like what you say, if you mean what you say and your actions speak louder than words. Mm-hmm. So if they really believe that this credit union had done, so many things for us, for our family, then they would stay with us. Mm-hmm. And I really believe in customer service is number one. The customer satisfaction is what keep your members stay with you no matter which way you go. But if they are dissatisfied with your services, they're going to go take your business to go somewhere else. So no matter, you can have really good technology, you can have a beautiful building, but if you don't pay attention to your members when they come to your branch or over the phone, soon that you're going to lose the business. And that's where you're going to be stuck in seeing the dissatisfaction with the services of credit union.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thanks, Chung. Love that. And Patrick, down to you.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to take a quick different spin on community and talk about how data can be good or bad as it relates to identifying communities and working with communities. So about 2.5 years ago, my twin 28-year-old daughters came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, you should play hockey with us." They play in the MGHA, called the Madison Gay Hockey Association, which, by the way, is the second largest gay hockey association in North America, next to Toronto. So shout out to MGHA. I was 57 years old. I hadn't skated in 25, 30 years. Oh, this is going to be really interesting. I thought it could be really fulfilling if I could go out there and learn how to skate again, stick handle, maybe score a goal, but just go out and have fun. And I didn't really think about the community I was going to be playing with because, my daughter, part of that community, I pretty much thought I knew it all. I had seen the struggles she went through, but I understand this community. Tell you what, I had no flippin' idea about this community whatsoever. Number one, it was the most engaging, most inclusive group of people I've ever been with. But I'll tell you what, I made some assumptions because of one data point. And that was my daughter. I thought I knew everything because of that one singular data point, because of my daughter. I didn't know anything. So how does that translate to communities? And I think of the credit union space. We all have a lot of data, right? And we can identify communities through this data. We can help communities through this data. But each of you have your own individual data at your credit union. Are you sharing it collectively? How can we take that collective data within the credit union space, within the industry, put it together, and look for communities or define communities that we don't even know exist? I mean, you can use your data right now to help identify consumer patterns, next best product, member churn. You've heard all those predictive models before. But I feel, at least at Trellance where I work and with the industry and some of our partners, we can take that one step further if we all share data. Because I'm not going to talk about algorithms, I'm not going to talk about data models. But the more data you have, the more insights you can gain, the more information you get, you can uncover communities that you don't even know exist. And if you truly want to serve those people that need help in those communities, I feel that's the next step for what we need to do as it relates to utilizing data to help communities. And I think the credit union space is better positioned than any industry out there to do that. So, thanks, Joe.
That's perfect. Thanks. So we've heard a lot of great ideas. We know that it's going to take a while to build community, right? It's not an overnight thing. We need to be out where the people are. We need to make sure we're reaching all different age groups. We are looking at our data and we're seeing, is it right? How do we identify those new groups, those groups we need to be serving? So we need to be out in our communities. We need to have them see us. We need that brand recognition. We also need to let them know that we are more about not just financial interactions, but we are out in the communities to help them and to serve them as well. I love our connection with Seaman Hospitals through CU for Kids. It shows that we're about their health care as well. We're helping their hospitals. We're out there. I don't think there's a better feeling out there than standing on the finish line at the Sacktown race and or the Cherry Blossom Run, and you see credit union employees coming across that finish line mixed with credit union members. You look at the audience on both sides, and you see it's just a community coming together doing amazing things. So that's what I leave you with. Get out there, be involved with the community, let them know that we are there and that we are about them, and we want to help them build their community. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much.